Hey everyone, Fire here. Today I'm going to be teaching you about the strategy that me and Grim used on day 3 of the league in order to farm almost an entire Mageblood in one sitting. So as most of you guys know, me and Grim teamed up this league in order to farm currency, and we have been using a Legion Deli strat, which I'm sure Grim's going to make his own video about. I don't want to talk about it too much, since that's more his area of expertise, but we used this strategy on the first 2 days of the league in order to gear up both of our characters and get all of our stuff prepared for day 3, where we were planning to farm a Mageblood. Unfortunately, day 3 started and we noticed that all of the Legion-related stuff was completely in the toilet in terms of price. The Maraketh emblems, I think, reached as low as 13C at one point, which is the lowest I have ever seen them in the last few years since they were released. And we realized we're not going to get Mageblood if we keep farming Legion. We looked into it, and it turned out the reason why this was the case was basically because TFT hadn't opened the 5-way channel yet, so everyone was generating Legion emblems, but no one was consuming them really. This was kind of a huge problem. We didn't know when the channels were going to be opened again, and I reached out to a bunch of people. I didn't get a straight answer, so we decided to pivot into something that is basically my area of expertise, scaring delirium mobs. So other than the emblems crashing, this pivot came about for 2 main reasons. So while we were doing the Deli Legion farm, we observed that the Deli orbs we were producing were not worth a lot of money. And the other thing that we observed was that we were unable to juice up the Legion aspect of the Deli Legion farm because the Scarabs were just way too expensive. And I guess we both put 1 and 1 together at around the same time. We both sort of said to each other, hold on a second, like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And it turns out we were. Skittering Deli orbs were absolutely the way to go, and this was something that I have farmed Magebloods with in the past. You can go back and check the videos on this channel, going back, I think, around maybe 9 months to a year ago now. Skittering Deli orbs were my thing. I was the skittering Deli orb guy, so I already had a very good idea of how we were going to pull this pivot off, what a tree that we were going to use would look like, and we'll run through all that stuff later. But essentially, skittering Deli orbs were really cheap, and then we could sell all the Scarabs at a very, very high price relative to the amount we were investing in these maps. So we fine-tuned the strategy, I would say, very quickly. We both started off with slightly different trees because we had some different ideas about what we thought would be good, and we figured it would just be best if we went with our own sort of strats, and then we could compare what was working for us both and sort of teach each other and make each other better at the strat. And in the end, we kind of converged on the same tree. Grim ended up having a lot of good ideas. I had totally missed the Abyss angle to the strat, so the strat ended up being more or less running Polished Abyss, Polished Breach, Polished Harbinger, although that can be downgraded to Rusted Harbinger if you want, and then also Rusted Strongbox, but we're not super tied to the Rusted Strongbox Scarab. If you don't have the 5th slot unlocked or you don't think it's worth it, completely fine to skip it and just not put a 5th or a 4th Scarab in at all. Now, in addition to running these Scarabs, we were running Breach on the map device. We were, I guess, running Alva when we had the missions. I wasn't actually double checking whether Grim was, but I know I was. And we were also running the Abyss Sextant in order to get an extra Abyss on the map. Now, the tree we used may seem a little unconventional, but it makes a lot of sense once you have a good understanding of what we're trying to accomplish with it. So, to start off with, we just get a bunch of the higher tier map nodes, and I'm also taking Archaeology Tour. This is totally optional. I didn't feel like it was super great, but Alva did pop up a few times after I ran out of her missions, and so getting a few Alvas for free was initially good until we min-maxed the strat to the point where we didn't need it. So I'm going to leave this up to you guys to decide whether you want to run this or not. I was personally blocking a few mechanics just to increase the chance of certain other mechanics, such as Breach and Abyss, spawning an additional time. I spent a few extra nodes to pick up the Shrine stuff over here. Obviously, we're getting the free Harbinger since Harbinger is going to be a part of the strat, as I mentioned. We're running this over here to buff the value of the breaches that we're putting on the maps. This is important. We're putting a polished breach onto the map. We're getting breach from the map device. We're running about 4 breaches every map. So you want to get as much value out of the breaches as you can. And to compound upon that, we're also running this over here, which increases the density of your breaches and also makes them a lot faster. As for the Harbinger investment, we're not going too hard on the tree. We're not getting this over here, but we are getting Unspeakable Offensive in order to make them go a little faster. I personally think this is really important. These Deli maps are taking closer around 8 minutes for us, and you don't want to spend extra time where you don't need to. You can just spend these 4 points and cut down a good chunk out of every single run. Yeah, nothing really to say about this. Make sure you take these nodes up here and not these nodes down here. These nodes up here give you a better chance for an extra Harbinger. Okay, we're going to take Singular Focus. I'm going to talk about the map that we're going to run a little bit after this. After that, we come up and get Abyssal Army. Abyssal Army is just great. More monsters. All we want is monsters, right? We just want to get the daily rewards to tick up as much as possible. So you're going to take Abyssal Army, obviously. We're going to take Rampant Growth and Eldritch Gaze. For those of you who didn't see, I dropped 17 Divine Orbs in one map the other night, mainly from the Eater of Worlds altars. We don't believe that the Divine Orb mod can spawn on the Exarch altars, so expect to see a lot of trees that just go blue nowadays. Why wouldn't you? I'm taking this over here to have the increased chance for a Legion to show up and good chance for Templar and Maraketh, but this can be dropped entirely. I'm not convinced Legion is very good, so drop them if you want. Okay, we're taking Shadow of Hunger, obviously. We pop up here, and I think these are like the most interesting points on the tree. So Imagine Pursuits is absolutely amazing. You just get one free extra row of deli tiles. It's great. Just like a bunch of extra scarabs at the end of every map. You can't go wrong with it. Screaming Whispers increases the stack size of simulacrum splinters in your maps. Now, usually this isn't important, but I think throughout this day, we would have farmed at least over 10 full simulacrums. So this ended up being pretty good in the end. I'm definitely going to advocate for it again if I was ever doing a deli video in the future. Now, these nodes are really, really damn cool. So, essentially, you just take all these nodes, and all the minor nodes buff the absolute shit out of your Abyss. Like, once they stack up, of course. Individually, they're not very strong, but you stack them up, they make your Abyss much, much better, much, much stronger. You get increased monsters and stuff like that, but the most important thing is this. So, when you get an Abyss that doesn't immediately go to an Abyssal Depths, it's going to give you 4 whole pits. That is a crap load of monsters. It's truly incredible. Like, I really thought this would be way too expensive. This was Grimmer's idea. I had no idea these points actually even did what they did. I hadn't checked them out until he pointed them out. And they're just absolutely incredible. Yeah, it's very expensive to be spending all these points to get up here and then spending all these points and getting all these nodes, but definitely worth it, especially for the strat we're doing. And yeah, that's what the tree looks like. It looks very unconventional, but that's just how it is. Okay, what maps are we running? We are running Strand, and we're going to devote one favor slot to Crimson Temple. For those of you who missed it, I think a couple leagues back, I worked out that a lot of map drops are flagged as dedicated adjacent map drops, and therefore, if you're playing Singular Focus, you allocate one of your favor slots to an adjacent map to the map that you want to sustain, and then you just get a lot of that map for free that you otherwise wouldn't have gotten. And that map could not have been anything else. It couldn't have rolled. It could not have rolled your desired map, more or less. It could only have rolled a map adjacent to the desired map, the one you're already running. So I've sold a bunch of Crimson Temples throughout this farm. I'd say just selling the Crimson Temples alone contributed to 2 whole Divines out of the entire Mageblood. And that's pretty good if you think about it. You're just giving up a favor slot and then doing nothing else. If you do ever run out of the map that you are trying to sustain, you can run that adjacent map, because then the map you want, so the Strand, is then adjacent to the Crimson Temple that you're running, and the Crimson Temple will drop extra strands. So it's a nice little relationship. And yeah, that's pretty much how we set up our outlets. We're just gonna go Strand. Strand's nice, straightforward layout. Doesn't have many obstructions or anything like that. It's got good spawn points for all the good mechanics. Legion, Expedition, Blight, etc. You just can't go wrong with it. It's one size fits all. So of course I'm going to recommend that. And then yeah, being adjacent to Crimson Temple makes it a very obvious choice. What happens when the market runs out the way it did for us? Well, you solve the problem the same way we did, and that was by turning to Harvest. Harvest lets you reroll all of your Daily Orbs like this. So you just put it into the window, you select change a stack of Daily Orbs, and the Daily Orbs cost 30 blue life force per reroll. You can put them in as a stack of 10 or a stack of 1. Currently, the cost to reroll stack is about 4C per hit, and you just keep rerolling it until it eventually hits Skittering Daily Orbs. It may take a while, I won't lie, but here's the thing. If you consider that a stack of 10 Daily Orbs is worth 250C, and a stack of random Daily Orbs is worth 55C, that leaves you around 200C in between to roll. Every roll costs 4C with a stack of 10. That means you can afford to re-roll a stack of 10 about 50 times before it's not going to be profitable if you eventually hit the Skittering Daily Orb. So, as you can see, we're still going in. There we go, we hit it. It's not too hard. It certainly does not require 50 hits in order to land on a Skittering Daily Orb, and I do have the numbers. I don't know if I'm going to be bothered to format them and share them with you guys any more than I shared them on stream when I actually gathered the data for it, but Skittering Deliorbs are not as rare as you'd think. It's not like they're in their tier of their own at some super low weight rarity. They share the same rarity tier as a lot of the other rewards, so you're as likely to run into a Skittering Deliorb as a whole bunch of other orbs. You'll come across it often enough that it's just going to be mega profit, even if you want to sit there and just roll the orbs and sell the orbs and not actually run them. If you like this video, give me a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.